Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining my Web3 Accounting Practices first meetup on 12th of October 2022 with Andrew Noble and myself. I'm Electra Frost from Digital Playhouse. We're here today because we are crypto-curious accountants who are noticing what's happening in the world of digital technology, and we want to know more about how digital assets and blockchain tech, becoming better known as Web3, is going to impact not just our clients' businesses, but also our own accounting and advisory careers and how we can prepare. So Accountants OnChain is a learning collective. We do these videos, these webinars every week or two, just to share my knowledge and encourage other accountants to keep up with me before it goes boom on us all. As the early adopters, maybe we'll be very well positioned when it goes boom. You know, we have to remember we onboarded as digital accountants most of the population to cloud technologies. And I believe it's just a matter of time when the accounting and related advisory professions will be advising on and guiding business models with Web3 in all areas of businesses. So to start getting familiar with how SMEs are likely to start adopting crypto assets and engage with Web3, I personally think it's good. My own approach is to learn by doing, by adopting the technology into my own practice and processes. This has served me very well in the last 20 years, which is why I've brainstormed with Andrew Noble to start this My Web3 Accounting Practice meetup. So yeah, look, might not be the way everyone learns, but it's a curious place to start to see how Web3 tech might work in our own practices. So thank you very much for being here today. And this could be the start of a fascinating journey. So just to start with, the disclaimer, this is all just about, you know, learning concepts and getting familiar with some just concepts. You have to do your own research, of course. We're not recommending any products or tokens or anything at all. And so mine and Andrew's companies and ourselves, we're not responsible for any decisions you make after this presentation, but of course you might get advice or come to talk to us more to reach your own conclusions. Now, Accountants OnChain is a project of Digital Playhouse Foundation. It's a business support model that's I'm developing to support the activities of Digital Playhouse Foundation, which is about learning and building with blockchain technologies. And yeah, and so on the agenda for today is quite a bit here. Now, Andrew is a real technologist. We're both members of the fellow members of the Institute of Public Accountants. So, you know, we're accountants, and he's also the Logit founder and his product Accziom, putting you in control. I like that. Accziom, I mean, but I like the tagline, putting you in control. I think he'll explain that. He's going to show us how that works today. So a lot of this might go over your head. Some of it goes over mine, but I'm going to try to keep asking questions. And please feel free to post any questions you have in the chat box as we go along. Don't hold back. I'll ask for you. I won't name you. We'll just help me keep the conversation going. So yeah, so how Web3 is combined with Web2. What I'm seeing is some websites, Web2 type of websites, what we're familiar with, normal websites, are having little Web3 decentralized apps added on. And, you know, Andrew described it as Web3 with training wheels, where we're performing familiar functions in our daily practice on a website, but with Web3 options. And yeah, we were talking earlier about how synthesized Bitcoin is used in this kind of value system. And we're going to talk about digital wallets or wallets as a service. That's an interesting idea. I don't know what the database talk is about, and fascinated by NFTs that aren't just artwork, but used for like business information, super apps, bit about licensing, certification, security, what we should know about systems we're using, and yeah, the beta test of Accziom. So what's in store there? Now, Andrew, thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to share your screen now, or just talk.
There we go. You should see that there, and hopefully you can confirm you can see my screen there, Electra.
Yeah, I can. So, Andrew, when did you So, oh, we're having a look at Logit first.
Yeah, I was just going to introduce
Fantastic.
myself. So I am an accountant, and I, over the last 11 years, been building a product called Logit, which is a tax compliance platform used for submitting filings to the ATO, used by accountants across Australia. And it's through this journey that I got interested in Web3 and blockchain tech and all the rest. So that's what I'm going to be sort of covering tonight. And yes, I'll be introducing you to Accziom, which is our new platform, new toolkit. And the tagline is putting you in control. And this comes back to, you know, not your keys, not your coins, which is a saying in Web3, but also comes back to your own digital identity and looking after your own data, because I think that's a big thing in the world we're going into, especially after the hack that happened with Optus. I think it's, you know, the future is really going to be around us curating, managing, controlling our own information, particularly our own business information. So what am I doing tonight? I'm covering off on our, what I call a super app for merchants and their clients, and the information marketplace that goes behind the super app. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You happy for me to dive in, Electra, and take you through?
I think you should.
You've got some questions.
Just,
okay.
And now again, anyone, we're just going to, won't let our eyes glaze over. If we need to ask something,
Yeah, don't hesitate to jump in.
And ask.
Yeah, so what am I going to be covering tonight in terms of the super app for merchants? I say anyone who's in business is a merchant, and I love the word merchant because I think it really encapsulates what we all do when we're in business, right? We're active, we're busy, we're trying to make money. So, or in this case, maybe we're trying to make tokens. And I want to highlight that, you know, I think the world that we're moving into with tokens, the tokenized world is really about, it's different to money, because yes, you can use tokens as money. You can use it to swap for goods and services or other tokens, or, you know, fiat currency or whatever. But I think the real power with tokenized world is that you're actually investing in projects. Anytime you're taking up tokens, you're backing that project, whatever that project is. When you get tokens, even Bitcoin, you know, you buy Bitcoin, you're actually backing the Bitcoin network, and you're actually an investor in the network, and that's where the power is. So what am I going to be covering off on? The RFQ process, request for quote. It's really when you're a merchant, it's all going to be about trading, and you're going to have an RFQ process which runs all the way from requesting your quote or your information all the way through to finally generating an invoice and getting paid. We'll be covering off on how we use baseline protocol for that. So I'll get into that in a bit more detail.
RFQ process is basically what we're familiar with
anyone who's trading in anything is at some stage going to be involved in part of the RFQ process. Even if you don't ask for a quote, you're still going to generate invoices and get paid. So that's part of that process. We've got the concept of a referral-based trading network. And as you know, the government's sort of putting pressure on anyone in this space to make sure they've got ID verification processes. Again, baseline protocol, we're using that for file storage and digital signing. And then I'm going to show you the difference between, I guess, a wallet as a service, which is running in a Web2 environment, and a genuine Web3 wallet, which is a Metamask wallet. And probably a lot of you have been playing around with this, would know what Metamask is. Integrated client chat and some other bits and pieces that we've got in our super app. And then this all sort of runs on top of an information marketplace. And our goal with the information marketplace is that it's generalized. Anyone else could build a super app that could replicate what we're doing, because we're really interested in the marketplace piece. And that's all about information that can help you trade, find, you know, your request for information. You'd use an information marketplace for that. And we're talking about staking and rewarding, and I'll get into the details, but making sure the information in the database is valid and accurate and not corrupt or spam. And talking about semantic databases versus tabular databases, covering off on the coin that we're using, which is a merchant coin.
Sorry, Andrew. what
Yep.
is semantic database versus the tabular?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. So this
okay.
is, yeah, so this is just really the introduction.
Okay.
So let me jump into, so when you have a chance, certainly come along to the Accziom website, scroll through. You know, we've got the service delivery infrastructure that we're putting in place, and that's all about, you know, all the way from your service engagement all the way to service delivery and finally service settlement, getting paid. We've got a whole set of tools in here, which is really experimental stuff. We're definitely working in with the two big players in the space, Xero and QuickBooks, and what the whole thing runs on ultimately is an information marketplace. This is really what we're focused on. The rest of it is really experimental stuff, but we believe that information is going to drive, you know, merchant activity in Web3. So you can jump in here and explore more. You know, we've got quite a bit of information in here, so have a look in here. I'll show you what I mean in a moment with the staked and grounded information, and, you know, your semantic database versus a normal tabular database, and the reasons that you could use this database that I'm going to show you. So let me jump in here and just introduce you to the merchant coin. So you could see this is what I'm doing now is I'm gaining access to.
Can I just ask? I mean, there's a few people. I suppose some people here are used to using a Metamask wallet. You just on an app on your.
So this Metamask wallet you could see is we're still running it on a test net. So I should actually say that everything that I'm showing you today, we haven't launched anything to the marketplace. It's all experimental.
The test nets are a great place to learn.
Yeah, you can test, you can play, you can learn.
Because it's not real money in a test net, is it?
It's dummy, but it's replicating the code bases and everything to make sure that it works ultimately.
Yeah, great place to learn DeFi wallets.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've built something called the merchant coin, and it's synthesized Bitcoin actually. So one merc.
So you've made your own money here, basically.
Yeah, we sort of, yeah. Okay. So what we did was we took Bitcoin and we used Bitcoin as the backing or the reserve for the merchant coin. So one merc equals one Satoshi. And the way that the system works is that you buy your merc, and there's a process. I'm not going to run through the whole process. We've got videos in our Logit YouTube channel. You can see how we actually go about buying the merc. But once you end up with merc in here, pretty much you can use the merc for transactional activity, and you can be confident that if you ever want to get out of merc, you can then sell out of your merc. You can put in your Bitcoin address, and the system will help you translate or swap your merc for real Bitcoin. So
what we're seeing here, Andrew, is you know, connecting to the Accziom website with your wallet, and then to acquire merc. Is that what's happening?
So you saw. I didn't.
Everyone who's not aware, Satoshis are a 100 millionth denomination of a Bitcoin. So it's the tiny cents of a Bitcoin.
Yeah. So you saw. I didn't log in with the username and password. I logged in with my wallet that then interacts with the web page and gives you all the information that you need to know about the merchant coin. We haven't finalized on how this works totally. We've actually found a problem in here, but it works. We'll make some final changes on it, and then people will be able to see that there's an exact same amount of, you know, Satoshis backed by exact amount of merc will be backed by the exact amount of Satoshis. Currently, we've got an operating charge in here that we're going to do away with. But the big thing to note with what we're doing with the merchant coin is we're running it with zero knowledge proofs. So what that means is the transactions that happen on layer 2. So you've got your layer 1 Ethereum, you've got layer 2, which uses some extra protocols and technologies. And the big benefit of this is that A, yes, it's secure, but B, it's private. So no one can see my transactions that are happening on layer 2. And now, you know, how would you actually use these? How would you use these tokens? Well, let me introduce you to how we're using it anyway. So why doesn't someone give me the name of an Australian business they'd like me to search for? Electra, do you want to suggest a business, maybe a publicly listed company or the like in Australia?
Oh, okay. Well, let's look up Harvey Norman. Should have picked an accounting firm, hey?
You could have. We could always have a look. So we've got, and you could see, obviously, it's the old story, right? They've got all types of businesses. Maybe we go with the holding company. So we drop into the holding company, and you can see that what we're using here is we're using a semantic database technology. And what a semantic database technology is relative to what you'd be used to with normal databases. A normal database would be something like, even Excel would be just a normal database. But the difference here with a semantic database is there's a context of what something is within the database using something called RDF, or Resource Descriptor Framework. And you can see here what I've done is I've clicked on, well, what is it? And it's telling me, so it's a company is a non-individual client type, and what it is defined as relative to what we're looking at the database. And then it's also giving me an example of other types of entities that are the same type of thing as in a public company, right? So there's extra information and context within a semantic database. But we do actually plug into all the other government databases here. So you can see here, I'll run through the other ones. ASIC, Harvey Norman Holdings is an ASIC paid. Now, if I was to want to get access to the paid, and let me try a Bing search, right? So let me try with a Bing search, and I will pay my merchant. And you can see here, it's asking me to do a digital signature to gain access to pay for the information. So Bing is part of the Microsoft group, and it's essentially what it's doing is it's doing a dynamic search on the Bing search engine, and it's coming up with some information about this entity. Then I could jump into the ASIC paid, and if the information was in there, I could do the same and I could gain access again. So let me pay for that. Sometimes these can take a bit of time to run. If there's a lot of directors in the background, it could take a bit of time to sort of run through and grab all of those names of all the directors and display them on the screen. So we'll give it a few seconds, and if it doesn't run through, I'll give up on it. But
pick a different company.
Well, yeah. So if the company didn't have too many directors and too many,
one's too big.
Shareholders, if there's hundreds of shareholders or whatever, or a lot of shareholders, yeah, then you're going to have a bit of a problem with how long it's going to take to grab that data.
Can you suggest the company, Andrew?
Well, let's just give it a minute. Maybe while it's doing that, let me just jump over to some of the other stuff that we're doing in here. So you can see we've got an ANZIC classifier in here, and I'm going to show you how we mint an NFT here. So what kind of business is Harvey Norman? It's probably retail, right? And you can see our ANZIC classifier is a robot, and it uses machine learning technology to make a prediction as to what kind of entity that is. So you can see it's predicted as a real retail trade. Believe it or not, this is quite a challenging thing, because there is a huge, if you know anything about the ANZIC codes, there's a lot of categories, there's a lot of subcategories, groups and classes. So it's not an easy one to predict, right? And this thing seems to have done half well. So if I went, Harvey Norman, I could then grab myself, I would mint an NFT on that. I could. And the reason that I've done that is to then represent the fact that I now know something about this that's not out there in the general well, there's not a database that's available with this information. I've created the NFT. I'd have to sign in to explore my NFTs and the NFTs that I've bought.
So this might be your own company or a client.
Yeah,
company.
typically you wouldn't buy an NFT for anything other than your own company. But for me, I'm experimenting.
We're pretending to be Harvey Norman exploring Web3 tonight, which is probably unlikely. But
and you can see essentially what I'm doing is I'm associating an NFT, and when I associate an NFT, I'm actually staking Merc. So I'm putting Merc against the information, because we don't want people putting any information in the database. You only put information in the database that's staked. That keeps the spam out of the database, hopefully, or minimizes the amount of spam, but it adds information to the database. And then what will happen is if someone else comes along and does a search for this entity, they would then be able to come to learn more about this entity here. So let's just grab a copy of that so that I can come back to it, because you should see now that if I research for this, I should then have to pay. So the next person that comes along and wants that information, wants to find out what this entity is, would potentially pay for this information.
Wow. Okay. So basically, you could get all the information about your company, mint it as an NFT, and then
then it's pay, and then you would be paying a little bit, not a lot, but you can see the ANZIC category there.
Yeah.
Now you would pay to gain access to know something about that entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't generally available in a public database. Look, I've used this as an example. So you could see it's now you got your ANZIC category, and that ANZIC category is extra information in the database staked with an NFT. The NFT is owned by whomever staked it, but typically the NFTs are going to be owned by the business operator or owner, right? In this case, but there's no reason why you couldn't come, and we're already working with some people who what they will do is they will come and do their own database on here, because you can see it's very easy for us to add extra databases, and they could come and put a database on here that contains all of the locations of all the solar panels on all the roofs in Australia. Someone wants to do some research. Typically, they're not going to be using an interface like this. They'll use an API call. But when they do the API call, they would get access to that information about where all these solar panels are. And then at the same time, the value of the calls via API would be split between the database owner, or the person who's put the information into the database, and the database operator. So, we've got a way to sort of share value amongst people who own information and people who want to operate these kinds of semantic databases, which are pretty powerful databases.
So it's like an info track with Web3. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We use it when we're checking out companies that we want to work with, and
yep, that's right. Exactly.
IP Australia, looking up trademarks. Would that be an actual database you bring into this as well? So
well, we won't bring other commercial databases in. This will actually be the commercial database of all the collaborators, and it'll go back to people like yourselves. So if you come in here, made some effort to put some extra information in about your businesses, that information will be here. Now, it could be anything from phone numbers to addresses to store locations, whatever it is that you want to say about your business. And the benefit of that is that, then you'll be rewarded anytime someone uses that information for whether it's marketing. Obviously, if it's marketing, you'll have control around, right, I don't want to be pestered for anything other than, maybe you're selling cheap energy. Maybe I'm interested in that. You can contact me on that, or you'd be putting information in here, which is useful for form filling, because you can imagine that you could use that information to dynamically fill forms. You could use it for marketing. You could use it for research, all that kind of stuff. So you could see we've got the maps in here. There's a whole lot of databases in here. There's something called a global. So, this is a legal entity identifier, and this is a global thing, right? LEI. So not all entities have this. I certainly don't have it for my entities. Probably none of you have this, but big companies have it, and it means that they can get searched from across the globe. But this, this is the information that goes into an LEI, and you can see it's quite detailed, right? Who manages this? Direct parent, ultimate parent, is quite detailed. So anyway, this is our, I guess you would call, this is our information marketplace, which is a collaborative information marketplace, which works well with Web 3.0. Anyone can come and collaborate. We'll certainly work toward having it so that, people can upload their own mass data sets if they want to monetize. But right down to individual business owners can put their stuff in here, because we want to build, and this is what I'll then show you now, is the kind of tools that we would have sitting over the top of this kind of information marketplace. Yes, Accziom is our toolkit, but people could certainly replicate this. And, we don't have any problem with people copying and doing something similar, because what you'd be doing is you'd be accessing the information that sits in this information marketplace, whether it's for RFQ processes, or you want to find other people who want your services or your goods or whatever, you can find them in the marketplace, information marketplace. So let me dive in and sort of show you what we've done here. Now, what I'm showing you here is we call it a super app, right? So super app's got a whole lot of different components, tools, all the rest. Now, the core super app, you can see if you come along to go.accziom, you could certainly come along and sign up now. We provide users with a whole lot of these tools, right? Something might be like a superannuation calculator. Some of this you might say is a little bit gimmicky, and some of it is, but it's certainly a way for us to sort of play with these concepts and ideas around a super app. Here you come in, you put information about your retirement profile, the amount that you got in super, your taxable income, and then what you can do is you can do a call, and you'll get yourself a profile of, okay, so this is what I've got now. By the time I hit 66 and then start to take my pension, ooh, I get sort of 31 years out of what I've said I want per year over that time frame to an expected life. If I'm saying I want to sort of pull out, I'm checking out at 95. There's a couple of different ways you can play with it. But anyway, let me sign in, and then you can see inside the app. So what I'm doing is I'm signing in as an individual, not as an org, not as an organization. And that's quite different, right? So you sign as an individual, and you can use the tool just to buy services from others. You're not a merchant. You're just buying services from other people. Now,
sorry, Andrew, just to interrupt. When we say this is the marketplace, right? This is where we buy services from each other. So who are the merchants?
Right. So the merchants are all of us, or whomever wants to play in the marketplace.
So accountants referring
accountants, the people that we will target first will be accountants and bookkeepers. Yeah. But certainly going forward, we would have this, it's about collaboration. And I know for myself, buying graphic design services, I want to get access to those. Financial planning, lawyers, all that kind of stuff we'd like to see come into the marketplace. And we've got a plan for the sort of verticals that we'll go after first. We'd like to do rental properties. We'd like to sort of do a few different things that are complementary and in adjacent spaces.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, we're still messing around with this stuff, right? So this is really prototype. It's
a little bit early conceptual.
Yeah, it's a little bit beyond concept, but we're not quite at beta, and stuff will probably break as I go through. What you'd be looking at in the bottom here is whatever. Now, typically you won't gain access to this unless you get invited in by a merchant. If you get invited in by a merchant, like I'm a merchant, I'm an accountant, I invite you into this, what will you see? So you've come in, you've come into what I've invited you into, which is, my platform. So you will see whatever I want you to see, because you're my client. You won't see any other goods and services providers in here. You'll only see what Andrew is selling you, on the basis that our goal for Accziom is to have a referral-based marketplace. So what I would do is, if I am going to be selling, like for, if there was nursery production or, Jufeng technology, guys making technology or graphic design, you will only see the things that I want you to see, because I know that I've done deals with all these guys, and I'm going to take a cut of the action anytime you buy something out of my marketplace. So every merchant has the opportunity to build their own marketplace for their clients. Your clients are not going to see, it's not an open marketplace, it's a referral-based marketplace.
Okay. So it's all the people in our networks.
Networks. So
our
hence
trusted advisors who we're referring
Yep.
to by email all the time, and that slow process.
Yeah. So exactly. So you will interact, and you can see here I did actually send Electra a couple of invites. You're still pending, but I do have some trading partners in here already, right? And hence why you can see what I can see in here. Now, of course, you do want to message and chat. You're going to be chatting with these people, communicating with people in your network, and we've got chat integrated in here. But this is at a personal level, right? I haven't flicked over to the org because you have to go over to an org to sell stuff. So I'll go over to an org in a moment, but I just really want to show you through here. And so we've got a wallet in here. Now this is where you go, okay, well, this is a wallet as a service, right? So here's my Merc. Merc runs on 2 levels, level 1 and level 2, or layer 1, layer 2 on the Ethereum network. So here I've got 5,000 Merc. Let me send myself some more. So if I go to layer 2, so this is a centralized wallet as a service, but certainly if I went back in here and send to, and I have got some money in this thing. So let me send myself 10,000 on layer 2. And you can see I have to use my Metamask to do the transaction. Let's see if that comes through. So reload. And we'll see if that comes through. Now, if anyone's familiar with, now you can see that transaction came in, right? So if you're familiar with cryptocurrencies, often cryptocurrencies are quite slow and they're not private. But the big thing that we're showing here is that we've got layer 2 technology, which is zero knowledge proof technology. And you can see that transaction came in and increased the balance of my wallet. And this one is a wallet as a service because I don't have to worry about a MetaMask tool. I'm simply doing it all from within a Web 2.0, browser-based interface. But now I've got a little bit of money. Someone sent this to me. The good thing is no one saw the transaction happen, so it's private. Layer 2 is probably not quite as secure as as the full Ethereum network, but it's certainly secure enough for running transactions like, for instance, small amounts of money that you might use to access a business information network.
Okay, I just have one question, Andrew. Why is the privacy important? Privacy from whom? Other businesses in the network?
Yeah, other business. We're going into a world where people could learn a lot about you and your business by looking at the activity that you're involved in on networks.
Yeah.
They could figure out who all your customers are. They could figure out who all your suppliers are.
Yeah.
They could find ways to hack you. And that Or they might figure out that, hey, you've got $500 million worth of Bitcoin, and you live in a place where you might be exposed physically, and they could come and just sort of put a gun to your head and say, right, give me your private keys, and if you don't, the consequence. So anyway, this is, look, you can't come in here and currently come in here and use our layer 2 technology without actually undergoing an ID verification.
Yes, this is.
So we are sort of, so this is something you should probably be aware of. In Australia, there's probably some rules and laws around how you interact with what I would call centralized services. So certainly Accziom is in this case a centralized service. Look, if someone just had a wallet and they come and use their MetaMask to gain access, that's not our problem, right? But certainly if you want to come to our website and do stuff, then we need you to undergo an ID verification.
So you'll do that and then keep the trade activity private.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can go and, so people can't go up and look at your wallet address on a blockchain explorer and see who you're doing business with.
Not with the layer 2 tech.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. It's probably, it's probably the right kind of tool for doing everyday transactions and trading, because probably what you would then do is, you know, once you build up a decent balance of Merc, you would then go and sell your Merc, which means that you'll end up with Bitcoin. And this all gets done in the background. So you could certainly, if you want to have a look and see how it works, you go to our Logit YouTube channel, and you can actually see, I've got a video on there, and it shows that full process coming in off Bitcoin into Merc and then going back out of Merc into Bitcoin. So the reason that we chose Bitcoin was because I like the concept of Satoshis as a really small unit of transaction, something like 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin. So you can do things with whole values. You don't need to worry about decimals, easy to understand. And I think over time, you know, Satoshis will hold their value to some degree. So anyway, what have we also got in here? So as I said, it's a super app. Inside of here, you got your files, file storage. You can share files around. You can see this is all about digital signing. So what we're using for digital signing is, if I pull up a file that I've shared, let me find a smallish one.
So these are files that you're sharing with people.
Yeah, I've shared them with people to get them digitally signed.
Okay.
Now, normally you have to buy digital signing technology. In this case, the documents are digitally signed. We're storing them on IPFS, and you can see so this document that I just verified has a proof. So there's a signer on there, and it's proved with this hash. And this hash is essentially like a blockchain hash. But the big benefit here is the technology that we're using. It's a public technology. And
meaning it's open source, do you mean?
Yeah, it's open source, and no one has to, it's not our private chain. It actually uses the main backbone of Ethereum, and it's called as I'm saying it, the name has just slipped out of my head. It is Baseline Protocol. So, and you can look this up later if you want, but it's called Baseline Protocol. Anyone could build this kind of stuff, right? And then we use IPFS, interplanetary file storage, as the storage mechanism, which is also almost like blockchain storage. Both of them open source kinds of technologies. Anyone can come and interact and use these, but certainly you could see any file, any file that I might have in here. So if I was to then download that file, it's just a little text file for a demo, right? So that's all it is. It's just a little text file that had some stuff on it. I've downloaded that, but you could share any document. So if I was to share a document, I would then select my partner. So maybe that's Electra. I don't know. Oh, because you haven't accepted my. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because then maybe I choose Poseidon. He's a partner. I select a file and I want him to sign it, right? So I put that file in there. You can see you can use Amazon S3 or IPFS. Test. Now we've got some encryption technology if you want to encrypt that, and then I could create that. And then that will go off to Poseidon, and you could see that's now uploaded, and I'm waiting for him to digitally sign it. So it's our experiment for digitally signing with no cost. And, if you go to the marketplace, you could use digital signing tech, which will also give you hashes, but they all depend on centralized technologies, and they all have quite a heavy price.
And taking information out of your system and putting it into another centralized system, whereas here you're keeping it all within a closed.
Well, this is, I mean, this in a sense, you're using our tools, but certainly if you put into IPFS and then later on you came and grabbed your keys, because what we do have inside of here is we do have the ability for people to come in and with their configuration, with their crypto wallets, if you want to use this, which is essentially a centralized wallet as a service, you might use it for a little while, then you want to get your private keys off here, you pull it all down. probably what we would suggest is pull it all down, blow away your key, put your value on another chain after you've used it, if you ended up not being comfortable with our technology for whatever reason. But you can see you could also import a key. So import, export a key. And we do also integrate with Stripe. And so now is probably a time for me to flip over. So in my network, so what am I doing? I'm going to go to my org, right? So you can have as many organizations as you like. And if you want to be a merchant, you need to have an org, right? So when you boot your org, it'll carry whatever name you want. Mine's Noble and Associates, my accounting firm. Inside here, again, I've got another wallet. This is not my personal wallet. This is now my organization wallet. And in here, you can see I've also got some Ethereum. We've got USDT. So I'm expecting a lot of people will probably end up playing on, these kinds of platforms with US dollar, especially if you've got people overseas providing graphic design services and stuff. But certainly you can see I've also got Merc over here, and there's no reason why, just like with online banking, if I wanted to send some layer 2 Merc, I want to transfer to myself over there, and I go sort of 5,000 done. So successfully transferred. I come back over here. I come to my wallet over here on my layer 2. And there's that 5,000 there, right? So super fast. That's one thing you'll notice about layer 2 tech. It's not like a normal Bitcoin transaction where you could wait a few minutes. And moreover, what's the kicker on layer 2? A, it's private. B, it's fast. And C, this is the kicker. There's no merchant fees. There's no gas. So, yeah, that's the kicker. There's no gas on layer 2. So it's really just, peer-to-peer, no cost. So super good for sort of merchants to trade with, right? Probably not suggesting you keep your whole life savings in layer 2, but certainly day-to-day small transactions, buying information, buying digital, like a digital service or a graphic or something like that.
Well, that's
probably
the whole
quite suitable
idea
for that.
of disintermediating, isn't it? And operating in a peer-to-peer sort of marketplace is that we do reduce our costs and can work more efficiently together. I mean, these are the reasons why we would explore these platforms.
Exactly. Yeah. And you would know that if you've had the indignity of paying big merchant fees, you would know that'd be pretty annoying, right? So anyway.
And we justify it because it does make us more efficient. But what if we could achieve that efficiency and it costs us less and it feels more private and enhances our relationships and lets us own our information. And monetize our business information. So there's a lot to this kind of package here.
So what I'm doing now is I'm going to show you. So in here, so now I'm at the org level. At the org level, you can come and build out a set of services. So what I could do is I could come and I could manage my team. So we've got multi-layer teams because you don't want everyone touching your cryptocurrency in the system, right? So not everyone's going to have access to the cryptocurrencies. So you've got roles, you've got teams. Also in here, you've got all the products that you would be of your own. You're going to be selling your own products, other people's products that you choose to sell to your customers. Because don't forget, it's not an open marketplace, closed marketplace. And anyone I invite in to sell my service to will never see. They will never see an open marketplace. They'll only see what I've curated for them to see. Now, this is a bit of a mess.
For example, by a new client, and I decide that I do a check on them or something.
Well, you would get them to do their own. They would do their own background check. I would invite them into
this system where it would ID verify them, and then
they will do their own ID verification using the tools that are in here. So they could certainly come and I've already done mine, so I can't show you how to do it. But
I get it.
You would invite them in. They would do an ID check, and then you, as the accountant service provider, can play around with offering them services. So here
that's another tool we're kind of taking care of. Another obligation we have to do that ID check.
Exactly.
But then
exactly.
we're
That's the new
taking them
thing.
straight to our service menu.
Yep. Now you could then send them a service. They could have a look at it.
Yeah.
So they could read through the service, which
Can they build their own service of what from your menu of what they want?
Well, if they're just an end user, they can't build services. But what they can do is they can choose which of your services you might want them to buy in a general idea, just as a sort of at a product view. Or what you could do is you could send them a specific service. So here I've been sent this service.
So like a proposal, a service proposal.
Yeah, it's a service proposal. Yeah. And you can see the one that I've been sent has, so it's been offered to me by Noble and Associates, which is the accounting firm, and it's got information about what I've been offered. So it's a bundle.
So how do they accept this?
I'll show you now. So they could obviously have a look through and make sure they're happy with everything in there.
Yeah.
So trust tax return, they can check, you know, what people are like. They probably won't look too much.
And there'll be terms and conditions somewhere.
Yes, exactly. And then they can just, if they like it, they can sign off on it, right? Sign successfully. And then me back here at the merchant level, if I come back into my merchant,
have they connected their wallet when they've signed? Have they connected their wallet yet to pay me automatically?
Well, they don't just have to use a wallet. They could use Stripe, right? Because you saw we had a Stripe in there as well.
Just
so they've got an option.
Getting paid up front. I'm used to using.
Yes, exactly. Well,
is agreed to, and then payment is taken. I'm wondering how that happens.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're on the right track there, and I'm going to show you in a minute what it means to actually build out a set of services. But certainly that would then come through as a ticket. And you can see that offer and draft has just come through. And here we have that, that bundle of services. So I am now back in Noble and Associates, the service provider, and I can see in my offers and drafts that this potential client they've been offered it, they've signed it. Now I just have to sign. Now this does actually break the system. It's still broken here, but I would then sign it myself. And then that would, and you can see it fails at that point, but then the buyer would get another message, and they would be able to pay. And how that all works, I'll dive into that now, because obviously you want to sell stuff. So as a service provider, same sort of thing again. You've got your ability to configure, set stuff up, notifications. So you might want to be notified by email anytime anyone's sending you proposals or whatever. So now what I would do is, if I went to my home screen, you could see here how you manage what we call microservices. So you could build these, microservices, and this is where you build either a microservice or a bundle of microservices. So if you were to build a microservice, you get something like test. I don't want to waste too much time on this, but you could put all the detail that you like into the service, whatever the price is. And then you could put some extra information in, like, okay, so maybe that's a unit. I'm not saying that this is how long it'll take. This is just a generalized idea of how long the service would take to deliver, because that might be something you want to use as part of your tracking and analytics for your business. It's part of your capacity planning ultimately. So then you can also build out the questionnaire. Now, I'm not going to show you the questionnaire here in any great detail, but this is what's called low code or no code programming. And you can build out a full questionnaire that sits in with your service, so that if I sent you an offer, it wouldn't just be an offer with a price. It'll also be an offer with a set of questions that you should answer, so that by the time I deliver you the service, I have already got from you, I've got from you the agreement that you agree that I should deliver the service to you, but you've also given me a whole lot of information. So that's called low code, no code programming. I won't waste too much time on this one. I'll open another one to show you in a moment. And here you could see you've got your payment config, right? So you can configure out to any great granular detail as to how you want to receive this. GST, how do you want to get paid? we're doing a few different fiat methods. We're doing Stripe and BizCorp. You know, they all have merchant fees. This world has merchant fees, right? Cryptocurrency, ultimately you'll have other cryptocurrency in here as well. We're pretty much focused on ERC20 tokens, which is anything that runs on that Ethereum platform. That is obviously what we use to build the merchant token. But you could say in here what you're accepting. Maybe you don't want to take cryptocurrency, right? You just wanted to take traditional money. And then you go through, you would have your details about your engagement letter. So you'd paste that in here. And then finally over to your acceptance page and what the email or the message would say to your customer or client, and then finally finished, right? And then you've got that, that's in an editing stage. But if I was to sort of show you what, so demo-year end, I'm going to find it.
Clients with crypto would be impressed that they could pay you in crypto.
Yeah, well, look, I'm happy to get paid in crypto, and not everyone will be, right? But if I come in here, I've built out a service here, and I just wanted to show you the low code. So if I go editing in here, I can go next, and I broke it. Well, I guess I'm not going to be showing you in any great detail.
We're getting quite close to the end of the hour.
To the end anyway, yeah. So,
and there's going to be so
look,
much more to see.
No, look, I mean, it's...
Understanding how value is moved around in a system like this is...
Yeah, well, that's...
I mean, what it does is very familiar, and you've grabbed a whole lot of convenient things that we want to do into one sort of platform where we could utilize synthesized Bitcoin.
Yep. So if I went back, so obviously you can see things will break, as I said. Year end, this one, that one is ready. And maybe if it's, so let me try the other year end, the one that's published. Maybe if I open that one, this one, you see this is published. But if I had a look in here, I could just have a look at it like this. And if I went through it in terms of the question set, get back. I really wanted to sort of dig into that. I wanted to dig into that no code, low code thing for the checklist. So if I went back in there and detail, I think I've ended up back at the same place. Show more. So where's the one that would have the, oh yes, I think it's this one. Oh no, you know what? Year-end analysis and repair, that's why. I'm looking at the wrong one. Year-end. And no, that's not the why, that's why. Analysis. Yeah, here we go. Demo, year-end analysis and repair. This is the one that I've set up before. Now it looks like I'm coming into it. So I put a little bit more effort into building this one. And here you can see what it actually looks like. So this is my, look, I'm no programmer, but certainly I did put this one together. So I can boast that I programmed this up with all of these bits and pieces, which you could see here. You've got selectors, tick boxes, repeaters, text boxes, you've got address fields, you've got all kinds of things. So if I wanted to come down here and add in something new, so I've got new item, and I could go sort of, let me see if I can remember how to do the text box, string, address.
So you're building a checklist for a client?
Yeah, exactly. You can build your checklists.
Yeah,
so maybe this is address.
And you could duplicate those or template or something?
Yeah, you can duplicate. There's quite a bit of functionality. You know, you go through it and learn. But yeah, and I don't want to waste too much time in here. You could put a URL resource there as well.
Okay.
And then the placeholder, fill this.
I like the clean, simple interface, you know. It doesn't look like social media.
And then,
it looks like old software.
And then preview that. So one of the kickers here is that this interacts with your proposal, because let's just say that I know that if you've got 5 bank accounts, it's going to be more work for me, right? So I can then say, so you could see that if the user says, I've got 3 bank accounts, it actually changes the value of the proposal.
Or if they've got 20 crypto wallets.
Yeah, exactly. However you want to do it, it's endless. It's endlessly flexible. And there again, so let me just go through revenue. So what are you going to work on? Yes, I've got revenue items, government grants. Yep, 2 of those, price changes. But let me go right to the end, because that's where I put my address. So 3 mot. And you can see we've also got in there, so you can choose your own address there. So that's just a demo of how that would work within the context of the offer.
That's fantastic, Andrew. I think
that's pretty much it, Electra. I think I've shown you everything of interest.
Okay, so we'll just keep following this, and when the beta is ready, I'm sure.
So if you like the idea of playing around with this sort of thing, certainly, as I said, come along to just Accziom, ACCZIOM. Come and learn about what it is that we're doing. And as I said, the key to this is really the marketplace. Now, what I showed you is us messing around with bits and pieces, but really, what we're most interested in is the information marketplace, because anyone else will be able to build things like what I just showed you. And the kicker will be this global information marketplace that you can do all sorts of things with that. Because that semantic database technology is super expensive. And the only way that we can really make it viable is to do it as like a community. And that community is done through the web, through the Web 3.0 Merc token, which is you don't use the information marketplace without using the Merc token. And that's pretty much what gives you the ability to interact with that marketplace, both in terms of staking your information, whatever information you want to put in there about your business. Look, there's a whole lot of general public information that we harvest and it's there already. But if you want to then, enhance your information set about your goods and services, your locations, contact details, all that sort of stuff, you put that in there, but you need to stake it with Merc. And anyone who wants to search for your information must search with a Merc payment. And that then means that everyone who participates in the marketplace gets rewarded, because they get rewarded off the back end of their NFT. So you get whatever information is associated with your token, with your NFTs, you'll get a reward, and that reward is split between yourself and whomever's running one of these semantic databases. So we don't just see ourselves running the semantic databases. We see, all across the planet, there will be people running semantic databases.
And this is where this idea of streamed passive revenue comes in, which is
it's just one more stream, right? And I think businesses in the future are going to be really thinking about, you might have 100 different token streams that are coming through from all different kinds of projects that you're engaged in as a supporter or a promoter or whatever. Work tokens or, whatever your tokens are, but we're moving into that world, which is an equity model. And, you participate, you collaborate, and you earn off your efforts in that world of tokens. So tokens are not, they're not a substitute for money. The old world of government money, well, that's just debt, right?
Right.
Government money is debt.
Yeah.
And, and yes, you can earn interest on it and stuff, but you don't hold, by holding government money, you're not holding equity in the country, which I think you probably should be. That's another question, right? That's another story for another time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But certainly, as I said, our information marketplace is what we're sort of really excited about. All the other stuff, fantastic. Lots of people are going to play around, and happy for people to copy us and just take our our
it's
app
just going to
ideas.
accelerate Web3 in all the areas that are going to help us all. That's what I love about this space, is everyone sharing what they're doing and their ideas, and working in different areas to just bring it all together. And that's what I hope that this meetup might do over time. You know, I think, Andrew, maybe we should just send out a survey to everyone who's showing interest in these sessions, and find out, you know, if they're willing to share what they're looking at for
Yeah, I mean, that would be not, it would be great to find out what people are doing, right?
All kinds of NFTs. We've looked at process control NFTs with OnChain, and this information marketplace use of NFTs is something else. But it sounds to me like NFTs, or whatever we're going to call them, digital somethings, are just going to become part of our business. And maybe
I think so.
As part of our business models as soon.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, the NFTs that we've got associated with our information marketplace can be used. They can be used for anything, right? So any piece of information that you want to harvest and associate with an NFT, you could. And certainly people, I believe, will trade NFTs for real world objects. So you might have an NFT that represents a piece of art in a given art gallery somewhere. And very easily, you know, you're swapping ownership of that piece of art. Maybe you're sponsoring that piece of art. You know, I actually have some art in a gallery, and I think I'm going to associate it all with NFTs.
Or maybe we should be doing that with the art in our offices.
Yeah, could do. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, this has been really great. Thank you, Andrew. And
No worries.
what I'll be doing after this is sending a recording and a bit of a write-up to those who attended. Expect that by over the weekend or Monday, and look forward to hearing from you all. I hope you'll keep engaged and inspire us, and we inspire you, and we'll talk again.
And Electra, thanks again for hosting and putting this on. This is really fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity.
Really appreciate you sharing your time and knowledge with us too, and this product. We're so interested to see how it develops.
No worries.
Comments. No one's asked any questions. Just thank you, and thank you too.
Good stuff. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.